welcome to this week's episode of Witchy Shit and Manga Lit with Cartabus and Rawiyah. This week we're talking about gaming and comfort sci-fi with special guest Ron, aka DJ Regular. To find out more information about Ron and the content we're discussing, just check out the links in the show notes. Alright y'all, let's get to it. Hi, welcome to Witchy Shit and Manga Lit with Cartabus, and today we have special guest Ron. How are you doing today, Ron?
Doing okay. Lovely. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Rawiyah, you forgot your name, hon.
Oh shit, I always do. Okay, like always, I'm a little bit high, you guys. But together we can get through it. Together I believe in all of us. So yeah, so how are you doing, Carta?
Oh, I'm fine. I also, before we start, I want to apologize because I realized throughout the last episode, I was clicking a pen the entire time, like an ADHD mess. So I have removed the pen from my general area, so that will not happen again, I promise. Anyway, please talk to us, Ron.
Lovely to be here. It is a pleasure to be on the pod with y'all.
So Ron, one of the things we do when we start off our episodes is we talk about what we've been feeding into our brain holes this week. So what has been going into your brain holes?
Let's see. So are we doing like just media in general, like books, movies?
Yeah, media in general,
Whatever you're
books,
watching,
movies.
playing, if you're playing games.
Okay, let me I'll break it I'll break them off into types of media. So for movies, I just watched a Korean film, and I'm blanking on the director right now, but it's on Netflix. It's called Kill Boksoon. And it is about a like a single mother that is also an assassin, and it's her basic it's without giving too much away, it's about her trying to balance her work life with raising her daughter, who's also a lesbian, a closeted lesbian or queer. I think she's actually definitively a lesbian, or at least as far as the movie delves into. But yeah, it's really good. I had it initially kind of sold to me as sort of a wiki, like John Wickian sort of experience, but it's a bit more grounded than all that. But there's still there's rad fight choreographing and stuff in there, but it's not quite as stylized as John Wick or some of the stuff that's spun out of that those sorts of films. Let's see, for reading, last thing I read was Claire DeWitt in the City of the Dead by Sarah Gran, which is a murder mystery set in post Katrina New Orleans. And the eponymous character, Claire DeWitt, she is a detective, like a private eye, but much more esoteric than her whole philosophy on detective work and investigation is based on this very strange and esoteric book. I forget the name of the book in the story, but it's a whole lot of very kind of strange philosophies that have very little to do with on the ground detective work and more about just kind of vibes. And she's very acerbic and very very not so much caustic, but she has very little time for being nice and being she's not your Columbo or or like she's not the Columbo type where she's like kind of like disarming you by being like kind of like affable and charming. She's more of like more sort of like very self-assured of her ability as a detective, and that like that's going to push her through. It's really good, incredible prose, which I've heard like gets better and better with Sarah Gran. Like she's got a book out most recently called The Book of the Most Precious Substance that is about uh like sex magic, and that's apparently
Well,
really
then
good
I
too.
guess we're gonna check that one out for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
I figured I should mention that given the show.
Yeah.
Let's see. And, let's see. So that's a movie. That's a book. And I've been reading a TTRPG called Apocalypse Keys, which is I've told Cartabus about this earlier. It's kind of like you're all playing as like what they call like omega level monsters, and it's sort of like an homage to like Hellboy, BPRD, that sort of thing, where you're working for a an organization that is a clandestine government organization that is trying to hold back the apocalypse. And the hook of the game is that all of the monsters that you play as are monsters that are capable of ushering in that apocalypse. And like the more you use your like monstrous abilities, the closer you push yourself to like becoming the thing that ushers in that apocalypse. And what pulls you back is the like bonds you build amongst like yourselves and with humanity. It's pretty cool concept so far.
That all sounds amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna get those books and titles from you probably after this so we can like let people know what you're reading in case they're interested in reading these things too. And I know I am, and I also know I'm high, so like I just forgot the titles. I remember that they sound awesome, but the titles and woo! So I'm gonna get that list from you. What about you, Carta?
You know my list is super long, so let's go with you first.
Oh my god. Okay. So this it is super long. This week I have been doing I believe two things. That's it. Just two things for me. The first one is Oshi No Ko, which is new to the anime. I've been watching it on HiDive, and I just found that I could read it online. And it's basically Iazeki. Did I say that right, Dre?
Isekai.
Isekai. Oh my god, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to edit your name out.
It's fine.
It's a isekai, and I'm finding that really, really enjoyable. And the other thing that I'm doing is I am binge watching Star Trek Discovery. I haven't seen it before. This is my first time virgin viewing, and I am in love. I started watching it earlier this week, and I'm already on season 2, episode 5. And I feel very deeply connected to these characters, and I want to fight people. There's people I don't trust that I'm out loud about. Like, it's just, it's been so good and so amazing to see how these characters are growing and forming relationships with each other and things like that. So those are the two things that I have been participating in this week. I'm still reading Queer and Loathing, and that continues to be a difficult read. Continues to be a difficult read. And that's what I am doing. Oh, and I watched a
Okay.
movie yesterday, but I can't remember what the fuck it was. I remember. It was good. It was
Well,
good. It was good.
when you remember, let us know, because if it's good,
Yeah.
then we might want to watch it. And
Yeah. I have feelings from it. I have feelings. I just can't remember the name of it.
oh, can you describe what it was about?
No, I can't describe what it's about either. It's
Oh my god.
went to get a little high, and I bit off a little bit more
Oops.
than I thought I did. So yeah, once I remember, I will let you know.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Um, so this past week, I'll start with what I've been watching because that list is much shorter than what I've been reading. Because I've been reading things nonstop to the point that I've gone to bed at nearly 3 a.m. every day this week because I have a problem. Um, but so last Sunday we went to go see John Wick 4, and I watched John Wick 3 the day before, and I loved it. It was like the fighting was fantastic. Everything was good. The only issue I had with it, with John Wick 4, was for some reason, and this is just like, I know that you also hate this, but for some reason they put Scott Adkins into a fat suit for literally no
Oh,
reason.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Right? Like luckily the sequence is maybe 15 minutes and then it's over. It's not like a huge part of
Yeah.
the movie, but still I was just like,
If you want a
why?
fat person in a role, put a fat person, hire a fat person for the role. Like, just don't use the fat suit because fat isn't a costume. It
Yeah,
isn't a
it
fucking
was
costume.
extremely annoying. And like, I mean, there are like really good bigger martial artists too. Like I'm a fan of Sammo Hung. So I'm mad that they're like, "Oh, let's, make the guy fight and ooh, he's in a fat suit now." It's like, "No, that it kind of took me out of it for a second. It was that bad." I was like, "Ugh." I mean, it was a well done like costume, but it's still like that was my one complaint about it. Everything else was great. The fighting felt
Thank you for
even,
letting me know.
yeah. I thought that was important to just articulate on that one. But yeah, the fighting felt even more like a video game than the third one, which I found fascinating. Like there's this gun that makes shit blow up for no reason. It was great, and Donnie Yen's
What
in
I'd
it, which I'm a huge fan of Donnie Yen. Go ahead.
what I'd heard with the fourth one, which I haven't seen yet, which is unusual for
Mhm.
me, because like I've been the card carrying John Wick super fan in my circles for a while. I'd heard that essentially like that John Wick 4 is sort of like, they didn't say like quality wise, but they compared it to Fury Road in that like it's basically like from start to stop. Like from opening credits to end credits, it basically is relentless in that like
Oh
shit
yeah,
just
no,
keeps
it's just like
happening.
fight sequence, fight sequence, fight sequence.
Mmm.
My favorite is actually the
Exciting.
Osaka hotel fight because the like big baddies they send, because you know how in the third movie they had like the super armored up guys that came and attacked the hotel. Well, they have those same guys, but they're like full black armor suits are like samurai style. So they've got like the oni mask and like the coveralls on the front that are banded. It's pretty badass. And yeah, no, there's yeah. Lots of guys in suits with katanas, which is I'm a fan of. So I do recommend seeing it. I just wanted to say that there was that one thing that I didn't like, but overall, like the story, the way that it's done, Donnie Yen is amazing. The way that they choreograph them working together in some of the scenes, so good. Um, and like most of the fight sequences are just like boss. Like there's this other one in an abandoned building, which is just amazing. But yeah, so I recommend that, obviously. And then the other thing I watched this week, other than that, was more Boruto because we're trying to finish it. Like we're in like the last leg, which is like the last,
Ooh.
I want to say 50 episodes. This show is freaking
Ooh.
long. This show is freaking long. But like, okay, full spoilers ahead for Boruto if anyone watching actually wants to watch Boruto and you'll remember any of this before you get to episode 200 when the story actually starts. Um, so the main plot is there's these Otsutsuki guys, and the Otsutsuki guys are basically moon people. They're moon people and they're gods, and they're like super powerful. And they're basically immortal because they can implant themselves into other people and make them turn into new versions of themselves, even if they die. Well, yeah, yeah. So there's like a really big battle between one of them and Naruto and Sasuke and Boruto. And um, basically, the Otsutsuki nerfs Naruto. And he nerfs him by like making him use up all of Kurama's chakra. So Naruto doesn't have Kurama anymore, which is like the nine-tailed fox beast that made him super powerful all the time. And then Sasuke gets nerfed in the funniest way possible. And that's the only reason I'm talking about this, is because I'm not a fan of Sasuke in general. I don't know why. I just don't like him. And like he only in the show, he only has one arm. And the only reason he only has one arm, because like Naruto lost one of his arms in Shippuden. So like they both lost an arm in Shippuden. It was like a mirror type of situation. Naruto has a fake arm. Like they have the technology to make fake arms. And Sasuke's like, no, it's a punishment. I don't get to have an arm. And I'm like, you bitch, just take an arm. You get to have one. What's wrong with you? Anyway, so he's like one-armed fighting in here. And like after like the main Ishiki, yeah. Ishiki is one of the Utsutsukis who's like, they basically murder him. Once they're done murdering him, Sasuke's like talking to Naruto and they're just like trying to have a conversation, or like he's checking on Kawaki and making sure everything's cool. He's just like standing there like normal. And out of nowhere, Boruto literally kunais his eye. And it's the Rinnegan eye, which is like the purple one with all the dots that lets him teleport. So like that's his OP power. Gets like stabbed out of his face by a possessed Boruto. And the way it happened was the funniest shit ever, because literally he's just standing there and then he has a child with a knife in his eye. Like out of nowhere. And like it's and like man. I mean, plot-wise, it's probably the right way to go, because when you have two majorly OP characters and like they're trying to fight gods, and that's like the only way you can like go up from there, you gotta nerf them. So they're nerfed now, which is a good thing. But like later, it was so funny because Boruto's like, "Oh, I feel bad. It's my fault that Sasuke is doesn't have his Rinnegan anymore." And Sasuke's like, "Nah, it's cool." And I'm like, you are way too chill about losing a fucking eye, guy. But then again, it's the eye on the side that he doesn't have an arm. So I'm like, well, you don't got nothing on that side now, do you? Empty man. Anyway, I'm sorry, I don't like Sasuke. So yeah, okay, spoilers over for anybody who wanted that. But
okay, I will put a time warning up.
I really don't think anybody's watching Boruto, so it's probably fine. Of all of my friends who watch anime, I am the only one watching Boruto. And actually sticking around this long, because again, it doesn't actually get good until episode 200. So you have to be like super, super duper patient to get there. Reading wise though, I got caught up with Jujutsu Kaisen, and oh my fucking God, that comic. Like, I realized though, after reading about an interview with the creator, why it goes as hard as it does, because he's literally speed running the comic. He told them, yeah, I'm going to finish it in a year. Like last year. He's only been writing it for 2 years. And he's just like, I'm finishing it. So there's like zero filler, no filler at all.
I mean, shout out to him. Like, you don't want to go out like One Piece or God Bless the Dead, Berserk, where it's just kind of like, well, this shit has been going forever. And
yeah, he's like, I'm gonna do a 300 chapter comic. Have fun, everybody. Bye. But yeah, it goes like ridiculously hard for no reason, and I have emotions about it. So when we went for our walk on Monday, I like spoiled the whole thing for Kurt, because I had to tell someone, and no one else I knew was reading as much as me. So I'm like, I gotta get my emotions out. And he's like, I'm not gonna remember any of this, so that's fine. And I'm like, yeah. So sometimes you just gotta spoil it. Like that
Mm-hmm.
time that I like
Mm-hmm.
had to tell you all about what happened to Aki because I had to.
Oh, you know what?
He
I
remembers.
think because I was high then. Did you tell me?
No, I
Or
told
did you
him.
tell?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay, because
told
I'm like,
Ron.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
No, yeah. No, Cartabus told us both about Aki is what I was laughing about.
Yeah, no, because I remember I was like, when I saw what happened happen, I was like, I gotta tell Ron about this. This is some shit. So yeah, I'm a bad spoiler of things, which is why I try to hold back in the show as much as I can, especially if I'm reading ahead on things. Um but other than that, I read an ungodly amount of BL. And by that, I mean at least 300 plus line comic chapters and 5 books. No, 6.
Wow.
6 books. Yeah, I
Wow.
kind of went ham. I could not stop. And I don't know, it's my emotional support smut. So that is, I had a stressful week at work. So I needed to read as much as possible. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
Of those, though, I would recommend one called Breathless Momentum because
Mm-hmm.
the way that the characters were written was just like a really healthy relationship where they actually communicate. Because, like, I get tired of all of the miscommunications and misunderstandings that they have in comics that they like just drag out for chapters and chapters. And you're like,
Yes.
oh my God, just fucking
So
talk.
annoying.
Yeah, they actually talk when that happens and like promote their relationship more. I was like, wow, this is really healthy. I've never seen that in a comic before. And it's
There
funny
was a
because, like,
Korean drama
yeah,
that I was watching where they actually talked when they had shit come up. And I was like, oh, it's a Korean drama for adults. But often adults don't talk either, right?
yeah,
But I felt like here's an example of a relationship that is stable and that is open. Here's a great example of a relationship in a show or on media, because sometimes these relationships be tragic. We're like, oh, it's so romantic, shit be tragic, just like with Boys Over Flowers. That
yeah.
shit
No,
wasn't
that is.
romantic. You're right.
That is the most
It's
unhealthiest
trauma.
relationship I've ever seen. I'm like, no, that's one of those that like I can't recommend. This is trash. This is full trash. No, the one I just told you about, like I'm not going to recommend you all the trash I read because I read a lot of it. Just saying that that one was an excellent, good, feel good, make you happy type of comic, which you might need in your life at some point. So I recommend Breathless Momentum. Plus, uh, they're both musicians, so there's a lot of music elements in it, which is really fun. Um, and then the last thing I started reading Chihayafuru again, which is during the pandemic. I binge watched the anime, and it's like 4 seasons of anime, and they ended on an emotional cliffhanger, and there is no season 5 in sight. And I'm like, damn it. And at the time, they didn't have an official English release of the manga, so I couldn't read it either. But they have the manga out. It is 100 chapters. So fingers crossed that there's actually some kind of resolution at the end for me to get to. I
Mhm.
don't know, but the manga goes a lot faster than the anime because the anime is like it's almost like a sports one, but it's for a card game. So it's a card game called Kurata, which is they basically have these 100 poems and someone reads out the first part of the poem and you have to find a card with the second part of the poem. So it's about hearing what the next sound is going to be and getting to the card faster than your opponent. So it sounds like it's like, oh, well, that sounds kind of like a weird game, but like it's like a sport because they like literally jump over and like slap a card away from the other person so they can't get it first. So it gets really exciting. But watching it is slightly more exciting than reading it. But reading is going to be faster than watching it because, again, the game's more in pictures, so it's going to be like less of a chapter. Anyway, that's it for me. Now that I've gone through 8 million things that I've done this week. I do tend to
That'll be
consume
funny.
more media, though. That's my bad. That's what I do.
Mm.
So let's talk about gaming because
Yeah.
that's something we're all interested in. And actually, Ron is the reason I'm into gaming at all. Because the first time I ever gamed was actually a live action role play of Vampire when we were going to SLU. I had just gotten out of some kind of like cinema club event that we had done, and I went upstairs and there was Ron and our friend Adam in the foyer of the rec building at campus, and I was like, "Hey, what's all this stuff happening?" And they were like, "It's gaming. Hey." So that's how I was introduced into gaming, was a vampire LARP. And I feel like together we've played nearly all of the Dark Wolf games because we played
White Wolf.
White Wolf, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
World
been
of
that long.
Darkness stuff.
World
Yeah,
of Darkness. Dark Wolf, what's wrong with
that's.
me?
I mean, you got there. You got there.
That gothic wolf company, you know.
Yeah, the one with all the kids with the eyeliner and mesh shirts and shit.
Got that the Crow vibes on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I remember my first character was a Toreador because of who I am as a person. And my second one, though, I don't remember what the name of it was. But it was the kind that can only eat a certain way, the vampires.
That is Ventru, I believe.
A Ventru, yeah, because basically my ass can't pay attention long enough, so I brought knitting with me. And so I would say that the only way I could drink blood was by like stabbing someone with the knitting needle and like drinking it that way. That was like my rule for how I had to drink blood because I needed to knit so that I wouldn't fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Because I cannot tell you how many times Ron has seen me fall asleep in game. You've probably seen me fall asleep in game multiple times too. I can't make my brain keep going if there's like other things happening. And when we first started playing D&D, Adam would take forever with his inventory. I don't know why. He would take like an hour on inventory and I would just pass the fuck out. Like,
I can't even remember what Adam
corner.
played. Was he like a magic user of some sort? I can't remember.
No, he was like a rogue or a fighter, and he would literally buy everything in the store. He'd be like, I need rope, and I need tacks, and I need all of this other stuff.
He wanted to be prepared.
Yes.
I understand that. Contingency plan on contingency plan on contingency plan. I get it. I understand this. This I understand.
Yeah. But we also played the werewolf one together, and we played the mage one together, and we played the fairy one, or is the fairy one and the mage one the same?
No, the Changeling is the fairy one, which is my favorite World of Darkness game ever and ever.
Yeah, I feel like we played that one. We definitely played the werewolf one.
Like, I know we played werewolf and vampire and mage. I can't actually recall us playing Changeling together.
Maybe we didn't, but I swear we did. There was like a really short stint that we were playing at Jeff's house.
I wanted to play. Like, I thought the werewolf one was at Jeff's house.
It was, but Christy was running it.
Okay. Well, for anybody listening who is completely like confused, World of Darkness the World of Darkness games were a very popular, like relatively speaking, popular series of tabletop role playing games published by White Wolf Games. they were basically like what D&D is to now in the 80s. White Wolf was to the 90s, as far as
Yeah, it's
tabletop role
very
playing
90s
games are
vibes.
concerned. Mhm.
Very, very, very
Which
90s
like
vibes. They also had a game that was like kind of like feng shui, but not. It was like a exalted, that
that was
one.
Exalted. Yeah, that was later. Exalted was later. That
Yeah.
was like early 2000s. Yeah, like it
Yeah.
was like feng shui to the point that like mechanically some of it was like I actually complained because mechanically some of it was bitten. I
Oh,
personally feel from feng shui, but like now especially be like that I like low key design shit like I don't like hold as much of like I don't hold as much of a rose because everybody bites something. And
yeah. We all
but
dip
yeah,
into
it
the
was
well at
basically
some point.
it was White Wolf's take on like wushu and Hong Kong action and anime kind of like there was a
Yeah.
lot of that inspiration in there.
Yes. But you're a gamer too, Rawiyah. How did you get into gaming?
Ugh, sex.
What?
So,
I mean, why I shouldn't be surprised by that, but please tell expound a bit more.
so it was. So I got dickmatized. Like I was dating this guy, and we were having sex, and on a regular, and it was really good sex. And he was like, so I game, do you want to come game with me? And I thought, oh my god, yeah, I'd love to come game with you. And I really thought game was a euphemism for
I was like, when did he bring this up? During dinner or like while the dick was in? Like, is he just like, come game with me? Like, how
during
did
sex.
that
No,
work?
we would study during sex. Like we were both in
What?
Japanese. we, we were both in
That
Japanese
is
and
not how our
international
Japanese
business.
class went.
It really isn't.
And I would be on my hands and knees looking in the book, and I would be repeating words. And when he got the
God.
right word in English, I would clench down, and that was a win for both of us. And that's how
Oh my God.
we did it. He started passing his tests. He started passing his tests. So yeah, so he asked me if I wanted to game. So I was like, yeah. And he's like, meet me here. So I met him at the like apartment I was going to with some oh my god, what was it? It used to be with some Bacardi breezers because it
Good
was
God,
that decade.
you are really putting a timestamp on this.
I
I don't know
showed
what those are.
Bacardi breezers are this low alcohol sparkling drink. I think it was sparkling or not. But it was not fancy. I'll send you images. Once you see the bottle, you'll be like, memories will start flashing back. I swear.
Like
I
this was the
swear.
era of like the Bacardi ices and the what
I
were the
Yes.
remember
other ones?
Smirnoff
Like
Ice because Smirnoff
yeah,
Ice
like
used to get me real fucked up because it was no, I remember one time I legit had like one of them and ended up yelling at Adam over a fucking fireworks game on the PS2. Like it made me mad. I got the other one taken away. It's like no more for you, you crazy
Probably the best
drinky.
choice. Probably the
because
best.
they're
So
basically like they were alcoholic sodas. You would because you would like they didn't taste like anything,
yes.
and you would house them, and they're full of like sugar and out and malt
Yep.
liquor. So you'd
Yep.
be like wild drunk immediately for no reason.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm
I
already
love
lightweight,
them.
so
I love them.
me
So
plus
I
malt
show
liquor
up.
equals bad.
So I show up at this apartment in my tight dress with Bacardi breezers and open the door, and there's like six dudes sitting on the floor with a bunch of books and papers between them, and I'm like, oh, this was
This is not
not
the
what I
game I
was.
anticipated.
This is not what I was expecting, but hey, I'm game. Like I thought I was okay.
Also,
Anyway, so
also to be fair, you have established already that you like paired studying and sex, so it still wasn't off the table at that point.
it's no, it wasn't. It really wasn't. It really wasn't at all. So so then they sat me down and let me know what was going on. And I was like, okay, cool, I could do this too. And I created a character. My first character was a magic user, and I'm trying to remember the name of the game, but something runner, um, Shadowrun or
Oh,
Shadowrunner.
That's a hell of a game to
Shadowrun
do
is
like as your
great.
first
Yeah.
game. Well,
Yeah,
like I'm more thinking of just like how fucking crunchy that game is. Like you have to roll all the damn dice, and there's so many fucking
yes,
stats, a lot of numbers. Like it's a game that has like a really fun setting, but actually like sitting down to play it is kind like unless you've got somebody who like knows what to like not like bother with or what to basically you need a good editor to play Shadowrun
yes.
successfully.
And we played a good game, but it was a lot went into it. And it was my first game, and for some reason, the game master, the dungeon master. Every time I think dungeon master, it gives me two different looks at something, and it both make me happy. So the dungeon master would my power. I was a glass cannon, so basically, anytime I used my power, like I would faint and pass out. And I think that was partially like he wanted me to faint and pass out. Like me swooning was a thing for him, I think. But anyway, we played that game, and that was fun. And then when I moved to California, I got introduced to GURPS. And that whole playing
Fucking
system
GURPS.
made me think I didn't want to game anymore because that shit was bananas. BANANAS. Like they would sit there and argue the rules according to which edition they were using in the game. So that made the game even longer. Um, and we painted models and stuff like that. We had a whole table set up dedicated in the dining room. Like I never actually ate food on that dining room table because there was always um a whole setup for GURPS and then later for Warhammer. Um so yeah, so that was my introduction to gaming, and then I thought I had lost my love for gaming, and then I met Ron and gamed with Ron, and then I was like, "Holy shit, this is what gaming could be. This is how fun it can be. This is like how relaxed and chill and calm it could be." Like it made me fall in love with gaming again. Like so yeah, so that's been my gaming experience. And I haven't found a a person who runs a game quite like Ron runs a game, and it kind of ruined me for kind of ruined me, Ron. You ruined me for gaming experiences, and that's fine. That just means we need to play another game. So, how did you get into gaming, Ron? How did you get into gaming?
uh let's see. So how long have I, like I've basically been like I've been sort of interested in I've been I've been interested in gaming of some sort like as we think of it with tabletop role playing games since I was a little kid. Like my earliest experience with things are like everybody read like choose your own adventure games like books, right? And that
Yes.
was
Those were the best.
like that was kind of like my earliest experience with that sort of with like storytelling games and like tabletop role playing. And so like I sort of sought out things like that, and eventually I had a family friend that was really into D&D, and they would let me like come over and like read through their and this was like a D&D, so they had like the monster manuals with like the three ring binder or whatever, and they would let me look
Mhm.
through those. And then on, I believe, my like probably 11th or 12th birthday, they bought me a copy of Vampire the Masquerade, second edition, and I bought that. And do I have it like sitting around here somewhere? I may. Yeah, actually, one sec. So for the folks that are listening, you won't see this, but this is my original copy of the second edition of Vampire the Masquerade that they gave to me as a gift. You can tell it's the original because it's all fucked up and like
I was
worn.
gonna say it is that
The
those books were not meant to last. A lot of them,
Nope.
especially like
Which
all of
it's
the supplements are paperback, like full on. They are going to fall apart.
like the second eds were a little bit better. Like this is the second edition. Those were a little bit better than the first edition. Like the first edition, even the core books were paperback. So like you would see like
Oh
this,
wow!
but like just paperback. But yeah, like, and I so like from then on, like I from like that point on, like I like for most people D&D is like your gateway into tabletop role playing games. World of Darkness shit was mine, which helped because I was an angsty little kid. Like I was like the whole like gothic punk like aesthetic and setting that they introduced in those games was like right up my alley.
Mhm.
And then like from there I like basically a lot of my a lot of like what guided like the sort of games I was into was the sort of other media I was into. So like with the World of Darkness stuff, because I was into like punk and like kind of gothy shit, that helped that. And then later, once I got into Hong Kong action movies, is like I basically actively sought out a game that would match that, because I was trying to shove like Hong Kong action shit into like other games that I was like running, and it wasn't working. So I eventually found a game called Feng Shui from Atlas Games that
Yes.
yeah, where
Yes.
the entire premise is these are games based on like action movies. And yeah,
Mhm.
so that was that. And then yeah, I've been like tabletop role playing games have been sort of like a pillar of my interests ever since.
Thank you. I remember the feng shui game that we played, and while I love the game, and I love the game, and I love the gaming experience with you, but I also really appreciated the thought that you put into like our character stories really interacting with the world, and also your playlist. Like you would create a playlist for the game, and I still have that playlist. Like I still listen to some of the music that you recommended. We listened to for the game. Like, you recommend movies, you recommend music, and that was super cool. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, like
Yeah, and
I
it's
like
funny.
to oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say with the plot that we were on for the feng shui game that you started with us was like the third movie in, basically, because it was an extension. So I just wanted to point out like the storyline was super rich and deep because he'd been working on it for
Mhm.
years at that point. Because that was, I want to say, at
Yeah,
least
I ran
6
that
years
for
ago.
y'all in college.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the storyline starts with like what I was running for Cartabus and our friends in college. And so like that
Yeah.
um
Like, do you remember the Ninja Girl character? The Ninja Girl was originally run by our friend Ian. So, like that was a continuation of a previous story. Uh, it was really, really well thought out. Yeah.
which to note,
That is so cool.
if that game, like if I ever pick up Feng Shui again, like there are characters that survived, and like there's stuff that survived, like no matter who I'm running it for, they're going to be back. Like
Cool. I will be making a new character though because of reasons, but I definitely would not be opposed to playing in that world again.
I'm gonna revamp the shepherdess if I get to play in that role again. I'm gonna revamp my character or relive, reinvest in my character. I want to see what my character has done in the past. How many years? 10, 15, 12? What is it?
It's been about
I
10
10?
like
since we
I
played last.
yeah, like I did, like I ended up doing like the math for it, like because the game also involves time travel, but time doesn't like so feng shui, like just very brief primer because I don't want to like turn this into a like Ron talks about feng shui for an hour. But
I mean, we
the
could we
world
could
of
do that.
Yeah.
so
We could
so
do that.
the world of
Go ahead.
feng shui, it is essentially there are it takes place in our modern day, but like the world of feng shui is also broken up into different time junctures that like the characters can like visit. So there's like 69 AD, like 1856, I believe, like the present day, which in the like or the old version that we played, which was like canonically like 1996, but I think in the current edition it's basically just present day. Um and then like there is a future juncture as well, and basically there is a secret war going on amongst like different factions to control the vast majority of the world's like kind of uh energy that they call like chi, that is governed by like different sites on the planet that are rich or strong in it, like the concept of feng shui, like as like the art of geomancy. Some places are strong in feng shui and some places like are like are not, and basically if you like have the ability to like lay claim to those places, you control that chi and it fortifies you, and it fortifies you and your faction, and therefore the more chi you hold, the more control you have over the world by and large, and like that carries over to different like time junctures and shit. And so but like it's not it, like time basically keeps going. So like if you travel back into like say today is Tuesday, if you travel to like 69 AD on a Tuesday, you're going to get there on the same Tuesday that you got like that exists in the like present time. So like basically
Hmm.
like everything you do affects every other time juncture. Like it's so like yeah, basically like the way I like to like plot for the game is, instead of like since I've been able to like carry this shit over since college, I kind of like to like play with the changes and like decide, okay, who's been in control of the time stream like from this
Hmm.
point, and then I adjust accordingly.
Hmm. Awesome. So what are your like favorite games? Are you writing games? Where can we like get your games?
Let's see. Favorite games, like Feng Shui is up there, like pretty high, just because I enjoy like it's I'm sweet on it because like it was kind of like my like first like this game really like it hit all of my buttons, like the as far as like the combat mechanics, it's very like zippy, like you basically just like
Hmm.
it's very easy to like it's very easy to be like to have a player who's maybe like not super experienced to be like, I want to do this. It's very easy to be like, okay, yeah, do that, and just like do we
Hmm.
like kind of explain to me what you're doing, and we'll just roll the dice and see how it works. Um, let's and also it's like very like it is one of the first games. I think the tie that binded it with Vampire the Masquerade for me is that like there's a huge in the back of the book there's a huge like filmography of like here are all the movies that we like recommend that you watch when you're playing this game. And like Vampire the Masquerade did kind of the same thing where if you look in the like the older editions, like that has like a big like bibliography and big filmography and big like list of musics. Like this is the tone and the vibe you should go for when you're playing this game. So I'm a sucker for any game that like is thinking about more than just like gaming, like which
Mm-hmm.
especially in the indie space is that they're plentiful now, but like back then it was definitely it was definitely a big deal for like a game to like feel cool. Like you didn't necessarily like there are a lot of like tabletop role playing games where you didn't feel like you were cool for playing them. And like these like it made you feel like you were cool or made you feel like you were getting a little bit of an education about something other than just like how dice roll and shit.
Mm-hmm.
um
Yeah.
and like to take it out of like past me, like some of my favorite like more recent stuff, Monster of the Week is probably one of my favorite games. It like the title, it is you're kind of simulating the like idea of a Monster of the Week show, like Buffy or Supernatural or shit like
Mm-hmm.
that, where like you've got like your gang of like monster hunters or paranormal investigators, and you go and you are dealing with a disturbance of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it had like it's an apocalypse world game, which if you're unfamiliar with Powered by the Apocalypse, there's a game called Apocalypse World. I'm blanking on the writers of that game. I'll look that up later. So like if you've got show notes, we can like plunk that in there. But essentially, the mechanic is like it's the mechanic is super simple. You've got two d6s, and whenever you need to roll for something, you're shooting for like a 10 to 12 is like a total success. A I'm sorry, like a 12 to like a same like if like a 12 to 9 is a total success. 8 to 6 is a partial success, which means you like did what you were trying to do, but like there's some sort of complication or something unexpected consequence. And then anything lower than that is failure. And that's as complicated as the dice get. And because the system is so easy, like, and so like flexible, like a lot of other games, and the creators like basically made it like not public domain, but I think like Creative Commons, where you can kind of
Mm-hmm.
remix it as you want. If you look up like Powered by the Apocalypse for types of games, you will see a ton of games that are built on that system. In fact, the most recent Avatar: The Last Airbender RPG uses Powered by the Apocalypse game, or at least started as one. And yeah,
I
really
write
love.
fan fiction
You write fan
for
fiction
Avatar: The Last
of
Airbender.
Avatar.
I love the world so much.
You should get into the game. It's a good game. Let's see. Other games I really enjoy. Songs for the Dusk is a game that I really liked a lot, that I got introduced to at a Bay Area gaming convention called Big Bad Con. Like shout out the folks from there. But it is if like sort of a solar punk or hope punk kind of game where an apocalypse has occurred and you are part of a team of like adventurers that is helping to rebuild afterwards. And it's like the writing's
Mm-hmm.
very evocative, and like the actual like systems for like kind of resolving things in like resolving things in like if not peaceful way, like a non destructive way. It's
Mhm.
one of the first games I played that is is very mindful of how a lot of tabletop role playing games are kind of a certain era are kind of built on colonial ideals, and Songs from the Dusk kind of pushes back against a lot of that a little bit, which I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that
So,
sounds
like,
cool.
if someone was a beginning gamer and they were intimidated by gaming, what would you tell them?
Um, well, it would kind of depend on what was intimidating them, but I always go with the idea of what else are you into, and use that as your means to seek out things that you enjoy. Because I found for me, I was never a big fantasy person, and so a lot of tabletop role playing, for a lot of people, D&D is synonymous with role playing games. They just when you think of tabletop role playing games, that's just what you think of. And that's what kept me away from it a lot of the time, because I didn't really feel like, and to be fair, now I will play a fantasy based thing, depending on who's running it, and depending on if I vibe with the people that are playing, and that's just what they're playing. But I would say try and find, if the prospect of getting into gaming is intimidating in that regard, and that you kind of are intimidated by the rules, or intimidated by the prospect of having to learn systems, give yourself an easy in by finding a game that is about something else you're interested in. And that's a good way to kind of clear clear it clears that hurdle. At least it makes you excited. It gives you some well, I already know a lot about horror movies, or I already know a lot about like um in my case with feng shui Hong Kong action flicks. I already have a knowledge base there that will kind of grease the wheels for learning all the other stuff.
Do you have any advice for finding a group to play with? Because I feel like that's a pretty big hurdle when
Yeah,
starting.
that is that is a fairly big hurdle. Let's see, because that's always a tricky one for me, because I always just gamed with my friends. Um, like I would say a good way to it kind of sucks depending on your temperament, but a good way to if you've got a lot of friends who may potentially be interested, find whatever game that you're interested in playing, and be the person who runs it. Basically decide I that's kind of how it happened with feng shui. Is nobody else, I was super into Hong Kong action flicks. I had a bunch of friends who were as well, and I was let me I'm actually gonna dig into this game, and I'm gonna tell my friends, hey, do you want to play a game that's like these movies that we watch? And once I got them to agree, I basically just sort of dug in, learned the game, and ran for them. um I would also look or and this happened to me not too long ago. Is It's actually how I found big bad cons. Look around at library events, because I know in the Bay Area, the Redwood City Library had a storytelling game,
Mhm.
storytelling gamers
Wow,
event that they would do like
that's so cool.
bi-weekly, or so, bi-weekly. And the folks that actually organized that ended up organizing Big Bad Con. and so I found a lot of people in the like indie like tabletop role playing game like design community through that. What else? Like I would also say with the proliferation of like online actual plays, like Twitch streams, podcasts, that sort of thing, get involved with their communities as well, and you'll find other like if you're looking to game with people online, that's a good way to find people. I'm involved with a like with a Twitch channel slash like YouTube channel called Saving Throw, and their community, like they have a full Discord, and like they have a full community that like you can find folks who would be down to like, if nothing else, just chat games with you, and that's a good kind of fruitful way to get involved with games as well.
Thank you, because I've really been stuck on how to find people and groups to play with. Um, and also, I want to say it's great to also game with a diverse group of people too.
Yep.
For me, because everybody brings in something, and there's also like just it's just better for me to game with a diverse group of people. And because we learn a lot about each other through the process. So those are great suggestions, and I'm gonna have to take a couple of those so I can get involved in some more games. Unless, of course, you should decide to run another game, then
Hint,
I mean
hint, hint.
I mean, just a light hint, just a season and a hint, just a sprinkle of hint.
A
Run a
Sousson.
game. Like I would love it if you run a game. I would love it if you run a game. I would. So you write. Can we talk about like what do you write?
I write a little bit of everything. I'm like you mentioned earlier, I'm a tabletop like I'm a RPG designer. I kind of bristle at calling myself a designer because like it's more of like I write games that like happen to have like role playing in them. Like I've never like built my own system from the ground up, and I guess like given the way like the design community is, like I should be comfortable with calling myself a designer, because like if you have like fiddled around with game systems, even if you didn't build them from the ground up, like you should probably consider yourself a designer. But I you know,
Mm-hmm.
my biggest strength is that I write worlds, and I write um
Mm.
I write the shit to wrap around a game like way better than I do like the actual like mechanics and systems and shit. But I have, as far as like stuff I've actually finished and like is out there in the world to cop, I have written, um, I did the first thing that I actually got paid for was the hack of, a hack of Nora Jury Last's Ever in Her Sight, which is a storytelling game. The original game is a storytelling game that you play with tarot cards, wherein each of the players is a member of a fairy queen's court that is completing tasks for her.
That sounds very
And
interesting.
yes, great game. And they reached out to me, I'll say like a couple of like how long ago was it now? Like, I think maybe 2 years ago during a like kind of a game jam slash like Kickstarter like jam event called Zine Quest, where like everybody makes like kind of short form like games that would fit in like a brochure or a zine. And they reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do a hack of Ever in Her Sight, and they pitched to me like they wanted me to do kind of like space western, like anime inspired, you know, shit like Outlaw Star, Cowboy Bebop.
Mhm.
that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And so I came up with a hack called Lightworkers, where you're all playing as intergalactic sort of like problem solvers, wet workers, like troubleshooters that like
Mhm.
are like, you know, in that vein of like Cowboy Bebop, you're like basically working to. Oh, go ahead.
Really quick, can you explain wet workers for people in the audience who may not know what that means?
Wet work is yeah, wet work is basically like when you think of um assassins or like like contracted paramilitary organizations that will kill for you for a
Mhm.
price. That's wet work. um
Mm.
but it's essentially the light workers is like your kind of spacefaring ne'er-do-wells that are working at the behest of different factions for cash. And um like I my goal in writing it was like I kind of want to do something like that is has like a pretty healthy disdain for capitalism, but also like
Ah.
very much plays with the themes that that Nora um pitched me on. And it's also like I have a theme of like all of my games like have like a musical sort of component. Lightworkers, the name itself comes from a JD song from Donuts, like Lightworks. And like the if you read the text, it's full of like hip hop like references and music references. And the game itself, like the actual like every game that I've like had available to the public so far, like has like a sound like kind of recommended if you like if you've ever like read through like college music journals, it says the recommended if you like thing. And the recommended if you
Mhm.
like for
Mhm.
that is like the LA beat scene. So like Flying Lotus, No Such Thing,
Yeah.
Prefuse 73, um, stuff like that. It's basically I wanted to make it feel like when you were playing this, you could have that stuff in the background, or like it would like feel like those songs, like the songs of that ilk would feel. So that's the first thing I got paid for, and the first thing I released for myself is a hack of this game called Aegon. Aegon is a really cool game by John Harper and Sean Nittner, where you are playing as like you're playing as a Greek army that like is returning, like a kind of Greek like mythical Greece. You're playing as a Greek army that is returning from a climactic battle, and they get lost along the way. And the the mechanic of the game is that you're like on your way home traveling to different islands by boat, and they're like you're going through different like different trials on those islands.
Mhm.
And like very much like sword and sandals kind of Greek like sword and sandals like role playing kind of stuff. It's really fun.
Mhm.
I made a hack for it where you that is inspired by hip hop and like dystopian YA fiction, where you're all playing like your player characters are kids who have been granted like literal like magical slash supernatural powers via like hip hop, like some sort of
Mhm.
like exposure to the culture via like magical artifacts that like
Yeah.
grants you like special abilities. And in this future dystopia, like it has been like kind of taken over, like it's been like ravaged and taken over by like corporations, and your player characters are it takes that like going hopping from island to island, and instead of hopping from island to island, you are moving from uh like subway and mass transit stops that have been like decommissioned over the years, and you're basically traveling from one of those to like to an end location that involves you like taking down these big like megacorps that have ruined the world. And so
That sounds amazing.
Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds really
that was one
cool.
of the first things I like wrote on my own and was like, I'm gonna sell this. And so that's a thing that's out there. And other than that, like I've got a bunch of like works in progress. My baby is a superhero role playing game that is built with Cortex Prime called More Than Human. It's essentially like my take on the what if superheroes existed in the real world sort of like trope.
Mm-hmm.
And the hook is basically that everybody that has superpowers also has a kind of like the like there's all types of powers. There's no real limit as to what people can do, but the tie that binds all of them is that everyone that is touched by like everyone that has like a power also has this like kind of strange pull to do good by their fellow man, and that's objective. Like there's not like what is like doing good by your fellow man, what that means like to what that means for like from one person to another, it's very subjective. And like I have a mechanic in there where it's basically kind of like you have like kind of a virtue trigger or virtue hook where like it's all based on like it's all like how you like access your abilities is based on like um how uh how you react with your particular virtue trigger. Like say your virtue trigger is compassion, so your powers are all connected to like being compassionate to a person. So like it's if you're in a situation where you can choose to show compassion to a person or show compassion in a thing and you choose not to, like you get backlash when you're trying to actually use your abilities in that regard. Is kind of like a kind of a sneaky way for me to counteract the impulse with a lot of like kind of postmodern superhero fiction. And by postmodern I mean like after like Watchmen and things of that ilk, like
Mm-hmm.
the impulse for a lot of what if superheroes were real people, and it's like the impulse there is like, well, they would be dicks, obviously. And it's like, well, I mean, yeah, I guess, but what would be more interesting to me is like, what if you were just compelled, like, what what if like you had somebody who had those abilities and the actual like human thing about it is that they want to use them to help? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just get kind of tired of like superhero, like a lot of like edgy superhero media, both comics and films, where like the idea was that like to to be more realistic is to be more cruel and to be more like petty and be more like selfish. And it's like, well, like
Yeah.
kind of a thing with humanity is that like we all cut like uh, one of the more remarkable things about humanity is that we all kind of like pull and like try to help each other. And so what if you kind of
Mm-hmm.
what if you kind of take that to like the nth degree? I think it's not like it's not like it definitely like breeds conflict. It's not like in playtests and stuff that I've done with it, it's not like all like hugs and kisses and everybody is fine. But like it's to me it's definitely a way more interesting thing to like play around with. It's like, well, you
Mm-hmm.
see that like the world by and large doesn't really want you to do the things you're doing. Why is that? Examine that. Like because what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
like is good and right. So let's talk about it. Let's like actually like pick at some of those systems as to why like you're
Mm-hmm.
running up against like friction there.
That is
Yeah,
awesome.
that's really cool.
I think sometimes when we look at the superhero trope, we see superheroes in this godlike, perfect kind of way, or they're always fighting to be perfect in a kind of way.
Hmm.
And also when we see them as more human, that seeing them as more human sometimes equals seeing them as very wrong, or something's messed up, or something's fucked up with them. Um, and that human part can be the part where the struggle exists. That human part can be the part um, where the beauty exists too. That it doesn't have to be more human, doesn't mean more asshole
Yeah, for
or
sure.
more horrible. Yeah. Just their humanity in and of itself can be a big pressure when they're dealing with big power and the responsibility that comes with big power. So I really, really appreciate your viewpoint on that.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with Spider-Man and shit, and like that was the whole thing. Is like and that's kind of with a lot of like Marvel comics here. Is the idea is that like they could be just the person that is on the street with you, and the whole idea is that they've got these abilities, and they have to reckon with the idea that they're still human beings just like you or me. It's just now they've got like they've got an ability that like puts a responsibility on their shoulders.
Well, thank you for talking to us about all of your favorite games and stuff. That was really interesting. I'm definitely going to check out. I really liked that last one with the superheroes and that kind of the whole virtue and stuff like that. Like the other one, the keys one that you were talking about, where there was like triggers
Yeah,
with the way that those powers work. That kind of thing I find really interesting. Um,
yeah, for
the
sure.
one that he first mentioned, Rawiyah, like he's told me about that game before in the past, and it's the kind of thing like I prefer the storytelling aspects of gaming, which is why I liked feng shui so much because like while I don't mind doing numbers, I prefer numbers and math if it involves money. And if it doesn't involve money, like my brain's just like, this is not important. This is not a real thing. This does not exist. So you don't need to worry about it. So having to like do all of these dice and math things, my brain's just like, I don't feel like it. So we're going to ignore that this needs to happen. But being able to play in feng shui, it was more organic for me because I could visually see what I wanted my character to do and explain that at the best of my abilities. And that's how that game kind of judged how well you did, kind of. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you could explain and make it feel like a movie, you would do better and be like achieve more things with the game. So, I think that's why I liked that one more. And some of the ones that you were talking about feel like they're going to be more in that vein where like you have to actually think about your character's motivations and like what they're actually actively doing in order to move forward. But I kind of wanted to move on to the next topic if that's okay. And while I did say we said originally last week it was going to be Star Trek, I'd actually like to change it a little bit and make it what is your emotional support sci-fi? Because I know we all have one. and
That's an
tell us
excellent
about that
question.
and why it is that for you. Like what is your happy space that if you're having a bad time and you want to go to another world, where do you go? What is yours?
I think I think mine is Star Trek. Like, um, especially Deep Space Nine, before the war. Because once it gets there's certain episodes during the war where I'm like, okay, this is great, but before the war, during the war, I'm like, this is everything is tragic, everything's pensive. We've got some
Stressful,
great
very
acting.
stressful.
It is very stressful. Like Benjamin Sisko's a badass, but also you're like, oh shit, especially like
That
the
man
one where
committed a
he's
whole
like, I can live with this.
that man committed a whole ass war crime,
He did. He did.
and
No,
he
don't
like
tell. I
He's like,
never
I
like
can
got to
live
the
with
war
this.
arc. Don't tell me that about Space Daddy. Come on.
He's still my dad. He is still my dad.
Yes,
My dad had to make some
yes.
choices.
And he made some choices, and he worked. Oh God, and I love Garrick. Like I love Garrick, but if for me, my emotional support sci-fi is Deep Space Nine, and it's a very specific period of Deep Space Nine. It's that time where his hair on his head and his goatee switch places, like when he has a bald head and a goatee. When he really becomes Daddy Cisco, like drool,
Like
drool,
the
drool,
the
drool.
the interesting thing about that, and it's like like if you like, because I'm a big huge Deep Space Nine fan. I would recommend watching the if you haven't already seen it, there's a documentary about Deep Space Nine. Fuck,
Yes.
what's it called? I'll actually look it up really quickly so that
I think it's
the viewers
on
can.
Peacock.
Yeah, it's on Peacock. I believe it's on. I believe it's, if you have like Prime, it's there as well. Let's
Mhm.
see. Deep Space. What We Left Behind is a documentary
Yeah.
from 2018. One thing I learned from the documentary there is that they actually had to like both Avery Brooks and the the showrunners on Deep Space Nine had to like fight for him to both like have a bald head and have the goatee.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because like, and this is sort of like indicative of like a lot of the problems with like that era of Star Trek content, is that like you had a lot of folks like Rick Berman and folks in like at the studio at Paramount that were kind of like pushing against a lot of the more progressive ends of what they wanted to accomplish, and like just the notion that like, and I get that Avery Brooks, he was coming from Spencer for Hire and A Man Called Hawk, so
Yeah.
you might want to, you might associate that like goatee with like kind
With
of
those characters.
those characters, but like on a whole though, we know what the fuck you're doing when you say like we can't have that black man be bald and like have a goatee, he's
Yeah.
going to be intimidating. And it's like,
Yeah.
we know
Exactly.
what the fuck you're doing. Like, and like I
Mhm.
like it was like that documentary, and then like just learning more about like kind of like the push and pull that a lot of people had to do with Trek during that period, both in Deep Space Nine and in TNG, was very like informative to me. Um like
It.
fuck Rick Berman until the earth blows up, like
Yeah.
just for starters. if you,
Tell us how
It.
you really feel,
It.
Ron.
It always disturbed me that we had this like progressive world, right? But we couldn't have. It couldn't be. They were. They were scared to cross lines. Which is one of the things I'm just like love about Discovery. I'm like, oh, here's some queer relationships. Here's some queer kissing. We had a tragic queer event that made me really sad because it's like queers get to be happy. Like fuck y'all.
Yes.
Um,
Let them be happy, please.
let us be happy. And it upsets me to hear because that's why I don't always roll with the fandom or the shit posting sites, because there are people who are like, I want old Trek. And when they say they want old Trek, they mean that they want like cis het white men in charge. They want like not as much. For me, I need a lot of depth and character development, which is why Deep Space Nine and now Discovery are like on my list. And it's my emotional support because I also love Jadzia Dax is a whole fuckboy. Like
You're not wrong.
they are a fucking mess, and I love them, but they also get the job done. What I also loved about Deep Space Nine is Benjamin Sisko's relationship with his son, and
Mhm.
Mhm.
how they showed that and how beautiful that was, and how you see this black man being affectionate to his son, and like Jake was taller than him and he still kissed him on the forehead, you know? And that one episode that ripped my heart out with the time stream and Cisco being ripped out of time and then Jake being like, I'm gonna find my dad, and Jake became a whole ass scientist in order to get his dad, like stuff like that. And to hear that even in the end, Avery Brooks was fighting with him about his character. Like he's like, no, he's not gonna just leave his son if there's no way to get like this. He's not just gonna go be a god and forget about the fact that he has a family.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
they had to do some rewriting on that scene. But yeah, for me, my show is Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That is my sci-fi emotional support sci-fi. What about y'all?
Mine is Stargate SG-1.
Talk about it. Let's go.
So, I remember when I was way younger, like when it first came out, I was in like high school, I think, middle school, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like stay up till like 3 a.m. to watch the shit because they had it on at like the wildest hour. And so like I would like find it in the middle of the night and be like, I'm watching this at the middle of the night. I don't care. I'm watching this by myself. This is the best. And it's because like one of my friends really liked the movie, and the movie's fantastic. Like if you have not seen it, definitely check it out. It's very 90s. It's got Kurt Russell as the lead. But the show, yeah, the show was just, there was something about it that just really drew me in. And while I was invested in the characters, I wasn't invested enough that it gave me anxiety. Does that make sense?
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
invested. I loved going along with them, but like there wasn't any point where I'm like, I have to stop watching this because it's going to give me a fucking heart attack. And some other shows are like that, but like I have to have some level of investment or I'm not going to be interested in watching it. And like while I have binged all of the Star Treks and while I have binged like Red Dwarf and Doctor Who and stuff like that, the one that I'm saying is like the Stargate SG-1 is because of the fact that I started watching it so early. So it has that nostalgia factor to it that the other shows don't really have because I watched them all as an adult. So going back to them doesn't feel as nostalgic as going back to that one. And I don't consider Star Wars my emotional support one because I was obsessed with it when I was young, like super obsessed. So I'm like married to Star Wars, so it can't be an emotional support show. Because like I'm too invested in it. But yeah, no, SG-1 is definitely that for me because like I could just like throw on those episodes and like paint or draw and not have to worry about anything and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
vibe with Teal'c and the crew in the background. And Teal'c was obviously my favorite because Christopher Judge is amazing. We actually got to see them in person once at the SDCC. Like God, when was it? I want to say 2006, 2007, something somewhere around there. It was one of their later seasons, and they were supposed to have Samantha Tapping and Christopher Judge and the guy who played Daniel Jackson. I can't. Michael Shanks, I think that was his name. Michael Shanks played Daniel Jackson. He was kind of a dick. He like showed up drunk. So I like blocked that out.
Oh.
And Amanda Tapping had like a family emergency. So it was basically the Christopher Judge show and he just showed up being like gregarious and fun and just like the best person ever. So I will always stand. And he's a great
Yeah,
voice
I've
actor too because he's done a lot of voice acting stuff.
yeah, he did Kratos in the most recent God of War games.
Crap, now
Mm.
I gotta play God of War.
And
But
yeah,
yeah,
everything
that's
I've heard
mine.
about Christopher Judge is he's a lovely man.
Yes. Yeah, he is.
What about you, Ron? What's your emotional support? Oh wait, Carter, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. It's fine.
Okay, all right. I didn't want to be that rude ass bitch, like I'm high. Like a second pause feels like a minute or an hour. So I'm like, so Ron, what's your emotional support sci-fi?
Let's see. And also, shout out to your plug. That pack must be amazing if you've been high this entire time. Like,
Yo, it's I wish I could remember the name of it, but I got it from here in Richmond. We have in El Cerrito, we have a place called Nug and Nug called Nug, and I got some Maui Howie Haze, and this is sativa, so that's why I'm still able to sit the fuck up. But yeah, I'm still. It doesn't take much. I had it before breakfast. It doesn't take. It used to be like, oh, I could take. Oh God, Ron, I used to be like 30 milligrams in before I was like this. Like I've had 100 milligram brownies and gone to see God.
I am pretty
But
sure
since
100 milligrams would kill me. Like I would just stop
that's a
breathing
lot.
at that point.
Jesus.
you you would bury me if I had that much.
but now I'm down to like 25 gets me kicked off. So yeah, and I have a slow metabolism.
Mm.
So I break down shit slowly. So I could
Yeah.
go to sleep and wake up the next morning high because of how my fat cells work with marijuana
Oh,
and dissolving it
yeah.
into my
That
system.
happens to me a lot too. Like that one time I
Yeah,
accidentally took 3 5 milligrams because I thought they weren't working. So I just kept taking more. And then like a
understand
half
your
hour
pain.
later, I'm talking to Ron and literally nearly passing out on the phone. You remember that? And we were
So
we were
you
like just talking about stuff, and I'm like, I gotta go.
so you were literally these edibles ain't shit meme. Like that was you. Like
Yes. That was me.
Hmm.
I was like, they're old. I bet they're not gonna be as potent anymore. I was wrong. I I was fucking wrong. They just took a second. Learn my lesson there. But anyway, your
um
emotional support sci-fi, Ron. What is it?
my emotional support sci-fi. So it would be DS9. We've already talked a lot about DS9. I'm gonna say two things. One,
Hmm.
to keep it Star Trek, actually Strange New Worlds. Like pretty much if 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 you have ever had somebody be like, I miss old Trek, Strange New Worlds is there for you. Come on home. Like that is literally what that show is. It is basically like, what if you took old Trek, but and like took everything that is good about it, threw everything else that you didn't like about that, like either you didn't like about it or like doesn't work now, threw that in the bin and put a really good cast in it and like just told like really like classic good ass Star Trek stories. That's Strange New Worlds. Like everybody in that cast is amazing. Like uh Rawiyah, you're watching Discovery at where are you in Discovery?
I'm at the part where Captain Pike is on Discovery,
Yeah. The homie.
and he is on
God, I
Discovery,
love that
and
man.
we needed him after Lorca. We
Well, that's
needed
the thing.
him after.
And right. Like I think because I have a little bit of a shaky relationship with Discovery, not but not to like I think my thing with Discovery is that like well for one like there was a big shakeup with the like showrunner like Brian Fuller, if you're familiar with Brian Fuller, Hannibal, Wonder Falls, what else, like just Brian Fuller is the king of this is an amazing show. oh, it only lasted one season. Like Brian Fuller got his start as a writer for like a writer, and I want to say like script supervisor for I think Voyager, either Voyager
Oh.
or TNG. And Discovery was supposed to be like if you look at the credits, like the created by, like his name's there. It's like co-created him and somebody else. And there was a shakeup with him. Like he was supposed to be like the showrunner for the first season, and then like he was off the show before it ever got started. So there was like I was already kind of salty about it because I like Brian Fuller a lot. I am
Mhm.
Hannibal Hive. If you've ever like been familiar with the Hannibal TV show. So I was already shaky
The
there,
only
and
thing
then
I'm
like
familiar about with the Hannibal TV show is the shipping, because all of my friends do nothing but
yeah,
ship.
yeah, yeah,
There's a very healthy
um,
shipping community around Hannibal.
extremely healthy.
Yeah.
God, those they are horny, they're feasting. Like, but to keep it back on Star Trek, I think because I was so fond of like Star Trek Discovery, it's not like the formatting of it is kind of like I think what made it click into place for me is it is not like a quote Star Trek like ensemble show. It is very
Mm-hmm.
much um about the captain. It is or not the captain.
Michael.
Uh yeah, it's very much about Michael. It is her story. And that like that helped me kind of get over the hump with Discovery, I think. And I think what Star Trek Strange New Worlds is, it is literally like this is the ensemble show, like the ensemble Trek show that you want if that's what you've been craving out of new Trek. And like just like just like just masterfully done, and it's the sort of show that you can kind of like sit and live in and hang out with these characters and like go back to episodes over and over again, and it's like it's not stressful. Like it's not stressful in the way that like a lot of
Oh,
like
good.
modern and it's not stressful in the way like a lot of like modern TV is, in that like you're like gonna be worried about like having to juggle like season long plot lines and terrible things that people are doing to each other. It's just good solid ass Trek, um, with
All
like
right.
great
I'll check it out.
characters. Yeah, like it fucking rules. And my other sci-fi comfort, we've already mentioned it, is Cowboy Bebop. Like because
Oh,
it
yeah, I didn't actually think of anime in that. That's a really good one. I really like that one too.
yeah,
I would
like
say
I
Evangelion, but
fucking
I don't
love
think that
a
was comforting at all. It's like the
mm,
opposite of comforting.
new 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 new
That's
new
my that's
new
my that's my emotional support fucked up shit.
Mm.
like existential like ego death crisis type shit. Is not
Ego
but yeah,
death.
Cowboy Bebop Cowboy
It's
Bebop
so good.
is definitely my comfort thing, because like to go back to that, like finding like other stuff you're interested in to get you into a thing. Like it is basically like kind of like the well, you like martial arts shit, and like the fight choreographing in
So
Cowboy
good.
Bebop is like it's that you like jazz, and you like really good music. Guess what's in Cowboy Bebop? And then like you've got it all
Mm-hmm.
set in this like backdrop of like sort of like fucked up space capitalism, where like you're like you've got this like weird junkie found family that's like scraping by to like make ends meet, uh in in um in the far future. I also like the way all the tech looks. It's kind of junky, but like very clearly futuristic. I'm a sucker for like that sort of like kind of tactile kind of thing. Like it is it's why as a child I didn't really gravitate toward Trek, because like all that tech looked really like neat and clean and like and and like very very like what's the word I'm looking for? Um
It looked real.
like
Like it
yeah,
had
like
that gritty realism to it while still being gorgeous at the same time. Like, how can a
yeah,
beat
like
up ship be that friggin' well made and glorious? Because the design work
mhm.
on that one. And what's funny is after hearing you describe that, my brain just kind of went, that's what Firefly wished it was.
Yeah,
And
for
I was
sure.
like, oh shit. I hadn't made the correlation previously that that's kind of where like potentially the inspiration for that came from, is like that show. But like Cowboy Bebop essentially spawned a million shows after it that wished that they were Cowboy Bebop. um it's one of my like great trifectas from the 90s. It's Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, and Trigun. Like those three were like the big three. If you were going to get into anime, you were going to watch those. If you didn't want to get
Mhm.
into anime in like the magical girl genre or through you know, shonen like DBZ, because none of those are shonen. They're all, I probably closer to seinen, though Trigun kind of walks that line, but they're all just very weird and interesting and have like bizarre tech and take place within, not necessarily in space, but with a touch of space, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well,
Cowboy
and they're
Bebop's
all
an
shows that
excellent
like
show in general.
they're all shows that like wear like their other influences like hard on their sleeve. Like the reason I
Yeah,
got
like
into
very
Cowboy
open.
Bebop so the reason I got into Cowboy Bebop so much was that like it was very much like a anime take on the heroic bloodshed genre of like Hong Kong action flicks. So shit like The
Mm.
Killer, the Killer, fuck, what's another one? Because I don't want to do all John Woo, but he was like the godfather of that shit. Like The Killer, A Better Tomorrow, like a
And The
lot of
Killer is
like
different than like, yeah, okay. Well, would Old Boy be considered one of those, or is that more because that's Korean?
no.
It's
Like
different. Okay.
well, it's not just because it's Korean. Like heroic bloodshed is specifically like about like it's the idea like to use The Killer as an example, it's about like these two men from like from different like walks of life that like they kind of form a shared brotherhood over like their ideals. Even though one's an assassin, one's a cop, they like form like a like kind of a brotherhood over their ideals, and they like literally like shed blood for and with one another.
Would
It's sort
SPL
of
be
like a
considered in that genre or something else? Because
I don't
I'm
think
not really
so
familiar
because
with The
it
Killer, unfortunately.
really we have to
Yeah,
remedy
no.
that soon. It is so good. Oh my god. I'm sorry I didn't put you up on that. Like I'm actually angry at myself right now. Like cuz I know
I'm
you've
sure
seen
you
Hard
mentioned it, but
Boiled,
you
right?
never like, no, you never sat me down and made me watch anything. I'm mad
Jesus
now.
Christ. You should
I haven't
be.
seen Hard Boiled.
Well
I
like
haven't seen Killer. I haven't seen any of that stuff. I just know names of things because you told me about it,
I
but
think
like we
I've
never actually
seen Hard
watched it.
Boiled.
no, like yeah, we need to do that shit cuz like I've shown you clips of it because like I did prep work for the game when we were like I've done like
I
prep work for the
remember
game
that.
and I've
Hard
how the
Boiled was ridiculous. Was that the one at the end where there was like this 45-minute fight scene in the hospital?
mhm. Because that like the thing
That
like pretty like the highway fight scene in Matrix Reloaded is literally the Wachowski siblings going, we need to do our own like we need to do our own hospital sequence. So it was like them like doing like a long ass fight sequence. Like there have been like it's just completely audacious. Like just like we're going to like blow up everything. And
Yeah.
I like things where everything blows up. That's my favorite genre, is just
I
everything
love
explodes.
I
This
love how
genre.
Community did a homage to Hard Boiled in one of their paint gun episodes.
Yep.
Like that was when he came with those two Nerf guns and the clock, and I was like, "Oh shit! I know what this is. This is Hard Boiled, and this is hilarious." So yeah, it's a good movie. It's a good movie. You said the other one was Killer. I haven't seen that
The
one. I'm gonna
Killer.
put that one on my list.
The
The
Killer.
Killer.
Which
So
It's
I
going on
remember
my
one that
list.
had a gunfight in a church, and it involved doves,
that's The
but I
Killer.
don't remember. Okay, so I have seen that one then. I just don't
Okay.
remember anything except that ending part. I'm not good with names sometimes, so like unless it's like my favorite thing, I don't remember the name of things. But yeah, so I guess I did see The Killer, but I haven't seen Hard Boiled.
Okay.
Because I don't like the
Thank God.
hospital sequence, I don't know what that is.
Like I was gonna go like, you know, commit like self-flagellation like a monk for not showing you The Killer if that was the case. Jesus Christ.
Well, apparently you did. I just forgot the name of it. I was like, I remember visually, or I remember you sending me that clip. Either way. But I swear I saw the movie for it. I swear I did.
Like because I went, and when we were in college, I actually went and bought The Killer and Hard Boiled on DVD from like one of the from the video store, one of the video stores on the Strip. I think I had them like special order one of them, and I still have those DVDs because you can't get like a not weirdly cut version of either one of those movies because of the
Seriously,
Weinstein
that's why I'm
Company.
so mad about not being able to get the original of SPL. Like it's just not anywhere. And I remember you showed me it. That I very much remember that because that one was like my favorite.
I will say with SPL, that like different named version of it, Killzone, the movie is fine. Like they didn't like fuck anything up with it. It's just it's got a dumb name.
Well, yeah, but they also I think it's only available in dub for that one
No,
because that's the American name
it's
for it.
available subbed. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
is
like
it?
the American, yeah, the American name is Killzone. Like it's a really stupid name, but it is like I'm pretty sure they
It's
didn't
the
like
same thing.
actually change anything with the movie. Yeah.
Okay, no, I think the problem I had with it was the only thing I can find for Killzone at the moment is like the TV version, so it doesn't have the letterbox one, and I want the full screen. Like I don't know,
Okay.
I was having trouble because I was trying to look it up on Amazon and on Google trying to find where I could watch it because I miss watching it in that fight at the end with Donnie Yen and Sammo Hung is just fucking great.
That fight scene is sick as shit because it's basically like it. Like I'm pretty sure it's just the two of them choreographed it. I don't think it was like I don't think it was like something that they had mapped out like ahead of time. It was just like, okay, we're gonna get to this part in the story, and then we're just gonna let Donnie and Sammo cook. It was so good.
It worked. That one in the alleyway fight. I can't remember that guy's name, but the blonde one, that one was super good too.
I was like, I think with SPL, because everybody in that movie like hates each other, it's not really heroic bloodshed. It is like it's a tragedy. It like kind of a tragedy. Like the thing
Well,
with the
no,
killer is
because
like the
yeah.
Like the thing with the
Oh,
killer
okay,
is like the
no.
two main characters, like basically they come to love each other by the end of it. There
Right.
is a sequel to SPL that kind of like could be Heroic Bloodshed, but not really. It's just it fucking rules. Like it's I forget who else. I forget who all's in it, but I think Tony Jaa is in it. I'll have to like I own that too, and I'll like go grab it and tell you who all's in it later. But like yeah, SPL2 like whips it completely unconnected to the first one. It's just a different story, but the whole concept of like three different stars that like are on a collision course is like there's three main characters in it, and that's how it carries over. But yeah,
Yeah,
God, I'm
well,
gonna
the
have to
way
watch
that
that shit
SPL
again.
ended, they couldn't really continue it due to the
Nope.
volume of characters just being dead. The sheer factor of, oh,
It
well,
is
all of the mains are gone, so it's not like we can continue with their story arcs. There's no more arc.
it is a
It
whole
sailed
ass
away.
tragedy.
Yeah. But it's so good. The fighting is so good.
Like I was
Big
trying
fan
to
of the
think,
fighting.
like actually, like when in trying to explain Heroic Bloodshed to people, I think a pretty good like analog to like if you were to say what's an American Heroic Bloodshed movie, Heat is actually probably a good example
Oh,
of
that makes
American Heroic
sense.
Bloodshed.
Yeah. That one's a fun one.
You could argue that
And
like,
by
well, no,
trying
go
to
ahead.
think. No, no, I'm just like trying to remember if there's any kind of in that vein that would also work. Um, nope, can't think of any others.
Yeah, it's basically just
Ghost
like
Dog?
Huh?
nah. Uh, Ghost
No.
Dog is
Okay.
like very like Ghost Dog is more like kind of a French New Wave movie. It- but like the crux of Heroic Bloodshed is basically like men who like men like kind of like transcending like the boundaries of like of like their different like the different systems that kind of separate them and like forming a brotherhood and also like yeah, also being
Lethal
surrounded
Weapon?
by like not really. Not really. Like
Even though that's such a cliche,
well, like
but
Lethal Weapon is your classic like buddy cop thing. There's like the difference between like a
okay.
buddy cop and Heroic Bloodshed. Heroic Bloodshed, there's an era, there's an aura of like drama and pathos and maybe even a little tragedy. Whereas
Would wait,
like buddy cop.
would Three Musketeers count?
Now we're getting really into the fucking weeds.
But I mean, they do create a bond, and there is a lot of fighting in that.
Like like maybe like I could see someone adapting the Three Musketeers and turning it into a Heroic Bloodshed. I don't think on its own it is though.
Is it because it's not modern? Does it have to be modern to be
No, it's
heroic
not
bloodshed?
necessarily because it's not modern, although like Heroic Bloodshed is sort of very much like couched in like the like the kind of gunplay and like gunplay and triads sort of thing that John Woo started with A Better Tomorrow. Um I could see someone adapting like the Three Musketeers into Heroic Bloodshed, maybe.
I'm just thinking because, like, I read the book, and the book goes fucking hard.
That's kind of why I'm thinking like you could maybe pull it off. Like it's all of the adaptations thus far have been very like well, I mean it's sort of like the ground zero for swashbuckling and shit. So like that's what the
Yeah,
adaptations
yeah.
have
I
been.
just like I think that a
But
lot of the adaptations they've pushed the romantic feel of it. But
mhm.
when I was like reading the book is not romantic like at all.
Nope. Like that's what, because
The-
I read, like, did you read it when you were young? Because I read it when I was young, and but I had
no, I
already
read it
seen,
like
like,
3 years ago. So
okay, like
I'd seen the
well, like
adaptations before I read it. Yeah.
I think your experience is probably similar to mine in that, because when I was little, I saw like adaptations of the Three Musketeers, and then I read the book, and I was like, wow, this is like, the vibes are way different.
They really are. It's far more concentrating on war and the actual relationship between the musketeers themselves. Which, I mean, according to shippers, is also a romance. But um but yeah, I was just curious about if like how you define the genre, because I'm very into like genre defining in terms of like
Hmm.
figuring out where things fit and what fits and what doesn't fit into a particular category, for me at least. So that was
Shit,
a good discussion.
I'll actually just pull up the definition of heroic bloodshed, because they're like, let's see. Heroic bloodshed is a genre invented by Hong Kong action cinema revolving around stylized action sequences and dramatic themes such as brotherhood, duty, honor, redemption, and violence.
Honestly, yeah, I think it would fit. That's a vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it could work, and like like yeah, like I would say, like, the quintessential John Woo movie that is like heroic bloodshed is The Killer, but like pretty much his whole ass run from A Better
His
Tomorrow up
oeuvre.
through his like, well, like, that is specifically that run in the 90s of like, from better to, like, the 80s and 90s, from A Better Tomorrow in 1986 up until like Hard Boiled in 1992. All of those movies like are about, like, in some measure, about like brotherhood and honor and duty, and motherfuckers getting shot a lot. And so, like,
Mhm.
because like A Better Tomorrow is about like you being like basically being true to your friends regardless of the consequences. Uh Bullet to the Head is about what happens when you betray your friendships for some other like gain. Like The Killer is about like two men like forging a brotherhood even though like they should be enemies. Like, and Hard Boiled is as far as like heroic bloodshed, is the flimsiest of all of them, but it's like it does hit the idea of like two men that are like coming at their jobs from like opposite ends of the spectrum, but still like finding a common goal and a common ground in like their duty to each other and to their
Mhm.
profession.
So we
I love
did
that
kind of
shit.
veer off a bit from the emotional support sci-fi, but that was a really interesting conversation, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, my
Um,
bad, y'all.
but I no, it was
No,
great.
it's good. We learned a lot.
We did. I do think we should wrap for the day because we're definitely over 2 hours at this point.
Oh no, we're at 1 hour 57 minutes and 40
Oh,
seconds.
Yeah,
We're actually making
we're
it
on
in
the
under
line.
2 hours.
Yes.
We're making it less. So Ron, where can people find you, follow you, and enjoy your shit and what's next on the horizon for you?
Oh,
Yes.
let's see. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the internet at DJ Regular. That's my Twitter handle. That's co-host, which I've been trying to write like bloggily a little bit more, so you can find that sort of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
You can find my games at itch.io, at like djregular.itch.io. Um and my website is djregular.tech, short for technology. That's you can it's basically like a portfolio site where you can find like, here's all the stuff that I worked on. I do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work with the tabletop YouTube and Twitch channel, Saving Throw Show. You can find them on YouTube at just at Saving Throw Show. I just wrapped up a series with them where we do like a how-to on Savage Worlds, Pathfinder for Savage Worlds. And we like last week we did a live stream of a one shot with myself, Riley Silverman, Randy Alvarenga, Amy Ellison, and Saving Throw executive producer Dom Zook. You can check that out like in their Twitch archives right now, but in the coming months, look for that to be like broken up into like bite-sized chunks with like cool YouTube annotations for like how to tutorial type shit. It's basically like if you want to learn how to play Pathfinder Savage Worlds, that's a good resource for you. And in the coming months, we're going to be doing like a few more games in that same vein where we do like YouTube videos on how to get started with them and then do stream games to show you how they play in action.
That's
And it's
cool.
called, repeat the name of it again, Saving Throw Show?
Yes, Saving Throw Show. Yeah, you just find them on like Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and if you like what you like dead ass, if you like what you see from them, support them on Ko-fi or Coffee rather, ko-fi. That's their funding platform.
To be fair, whenever I see it, I also say coffee. So
yeah, it's
the way that it's the KOFI just gives it that kind of vibe. So what about you, Rawiyah? What's your next event happening?
My next event happening is I have a workshop coming up called Rituals for Children of Toxic Mothers, an Exorcism for Mother's Day. And that's going to be happening on April 30th and on Mother's Day. It's going to be 2 separate classes, and I have community care tickets available, as well as sliding scale reparative prices. So come through. If you need this medicine, come through. It will be recorded, so it can be viewed later. And that's what I have coming up on the horizon. Aside from that, I'm waiting to get my manuscript back from my editor so that I can start the second round of editing processes on my book, Mammy is Dead. And that's about it for me. Like, I'm doing that. That's all the public stuff I have going on. Privately, I have a lot of grant writing to do. Mama needs money.
Get it.
What do you have going on?
Nothing. I don't do anything. I'm very boring. I just know a lot of really creative, fun people. That's it. I just make
what
friends.
Are you going to be
That's
getting?
my job.
What are you getting into this week?
I'm going to just read a lot more. I have been painting while listening to us whenever it publishes. So I have been making things, but it's not like it's not like a project. It's just me messing around, getting my feet back under me with the art stuff. And I'm going to be reading a lot, and I have so much stuff to do at work. So much stuff. To the point that they asked me, like, were you going to work this weekend? And I'm like, no, I'm salaried. I'm not working this weekend. Thanks, though. Bye. So
it's like one of my favorite podcasts says. Like one of my favorite other podcasts says, "Waypoint, fuck capitalism, go home." Like that is the vibe.
Yes.
Don't have motherfuckers have you working on weekends.
Yeah, I even asked my boss, and my boss is like, no, you're like being borrowed for this project. I don't think so. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. Sorry, no, bye-bye. I have things to do, like eat ice cream and watch anime. Sorry. That's my vibe for the weekend. I have ice cream to eat, and I'm gonna go make myself some kimchi fried rice, and then we're probably gonna go get ice cream because that's what I want to do
Nice. That
tonight.
sounds good.
But yeah, I'm just gonna be reading a lot more
Hmm.
because that's all I do. And then I tell you about it.
Yes, and then I get text messages of reels and reading, and oh my God. So, what if you wanted to leave something with somebody, not something with somebody, Jesus, get it together, bitch. If you wanted to leave one thing you hope someone would pick up listening to this podcast or just in life in general, what would be that one thing this week?
This week, I would say don't be afraid to try new things. You might be surprised at what you enjoy doing because, like, we talked a lot about gaming, and a lot of people are intimidated by starting that because either there's a lot of established groups already that they can't join, or they don't really know because of the breadth of the amount of games available, they don't really know where to start. Just start somewhere. Find some friends, find a group. Go hang out, have fun. Try it. Try something new. It'll be fun.
That's cool. Me as an introvert, sometimes I'm like, I ain't trying shit new. I ain't trying nothing fucking new. Ever, ever. But I have been trying new stuff. So like as far as something I would leave somebody with is that you get to create your own worlds. Like I know we talk a lot about magic shit on this show too, and we didn't do that so much today. So my thing in tying this all in with magic is that you get to create your own world. Yes, you have to exist in this world too with a foot in this world at the very least. But you get to envision what your world gets to be, and you get to write those worlds out, and you get to make them real for yourself and for other people. So for me, it would be the importance of world building in both practical and magical ways, and that type of control and empowerment we have when we build our own worlds. So, yeah, what about you, Ron?
What would I want somebody to take from this? Um, in that similar vein, don't be afraid to be corny. Like a lot of people like get hung up on not really loving something like full throatedly and like with like and not doing something with their whole ass. And it's like, don't
Mhm,
be afraid to do something with your whole ass or love something with your whole ass. It is fine. Like
mhm.
if you're not going to be excited about the thing that you enjoy, like you can't expect anybody else to be. And I think I've had to reckon with that a lot myself. Like I have a bad habit of being like, well, like this shit I'm doing is like I enjoy it, but then I enjoy it. So like, how good could it be? And like, nah, like be okay with being enthusiastic about a thing.
I was like, I
I
was
would
about to
say.
yell at you because but then again, like we are very enthusiastic in this household. I am very enthusiastic in general, and I find that it's very difficult to shut up. Sometimes if I enjoy something and someone says, "Hey, what's that thing?" I will not shut up about it because I enjoy it too much. So don't. So be like me. No I'm kidding.
Well, I think it actually is. That's actually like kind of Rawiyah, when you asked the question about how do you find like groups. I would say like kind of a corollary to that is like if you find a game that is like I don't know if I could like if you don't have like say you find a game that you really like and like it really speaks to you, but you don't have players yet and you've got friends, like don't be afraid to be excited about that shit around them and like say, here's why this is interesting to me. And
Mhm.
like they might not like they like I'm not gonna like put it on your friends to be like, if they don't play with you, they're fucking assholes and you should dump them. But I will say, if your friends like see you excited about something like they're probably going to like at the very least like, yeah, let's try and like join them in their excitement. And in general, like
Yeah.
if people see you like if people see you excited about a thing, they're going to be more apt to like to want to join you.
Mm-hmm. True. True. All right, y'all. It's been a wonderful pleasure. This has been what, episode 4? Have we done
Yes.
4 episodes now?
We
Yep.
have, yes. This is episode 4.
Yeah. So this is episode 4 coming to a close. This has been Cartabus, Ron, and Rawiyah with manga. Oh shit, so high trying to do the outro, can't even. Since Ron's like, we should probably have an outro.
Look, I'm
This has
trying
been
to
what
help.
you should.
I'm trying to help.
And then we're all like, what's an outro? So this is I don't know what the fuck do we even say. So we're saying this has been it for What You Shit and Manga Lit with Cartabus and Rawiyah, special guest DJ regular Ron. And we'll be catching you next week. We're going to be talking about some shit going on with the universe. I personally want to talk chaos magic, but we'll see what happens.
I think we're going to do Magic and Magical Girls next week. I think that's what that's on the schedule.
Shit.
So we're going to
Okay.
talk about how
I
magic
better watch
works.
Puella
And then,
Madoka Magica.
yeah, and then get
I was
into
actually
some hit. Go ahead, boy.
like quick plug for a magical girl related thing. The folks who did who published Apocalypse Keys, they've got like they're publishing a magical girl inspired RPG called Girl by Moonlight. It is currently like in the like whatever that stage is before the Kickstarter launches, where you like where you sign up for the newsletter and then like
the pre-launch.
once it launches, they tell you about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're in
Mhm.
pre-launch right now. Go sign up. Just search for Girl by Moonlight. It looks like
Well, you know
fucking
I'm
dope.
gonna.
It looks like it rips.
Mm.
But yeah,
You know how
my
I am
bad.
with
Go ahead.
Kickstarters.
No,
Yeah,
no.
y'all go ahead and
Awesome.
close
Thank
up
you
the
for
show.
that.
My fault.
Okay. Like, I'm doing off now. Alright, so this has been Witchy Shit and Manga Lit with Cartabus and Rawiyah, special guest Ron, DJ Regular. Look him up, follow his stuff, give him all the love. And thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.